I've often been asked, how did I go from an abusive background to moving out at 15 to being homeless at 18? I had intense panic attacks. I was stealing. My life wasn't going well. I was becoming a statistic. And people have often asked me, how did I turn that around? And so that's what the book's about. Music was always the soundtrack to my trying to figure out if nature versus nurture. If your nurture wasn't good, could you get to know your real nature? Could you re-nurture yourself? If happiness wasn't taught in your house, is it a learnable skill? And that's what the book's about.
You talk about that you probably barely would have made it. Can you elaborate on that, what you mean?
My mom left when I was 8, and my dad and I began bar singing when I was about that age. And so I was pretty unsupervised in bars from a pretty young age. I loved learning to sing and that being part of my life, but it was still a lot of sketchy characters. And my dad became an alcoholic and became abusive. And the lifestyle, and then moving out at 15, it just statistically, I knew girls like me end up repeating the cycle, so I should end up in a ditch or on a pole or on drugs or in an abusive relationship or something like that. And I tried quite hard to avoid that. I did pretty good for 3 years until I had a boss that propositioned me, and when I wouldn't have sex with him, he ended up firing me. So I ended up living in my car, and then my car got stolen, and that's how I became homeless. And it was a really difficult and pretty dire time in my life.
And you also talk a lot about your mom, and you said that was like part of the hardest part of revealing all of that about your mom.
Yeah.
Was it therapeutic to write about her?
I don't think I could have written it at the time. I kind of found out the truth of what I perceived my mom to be in about 2003 and never talked about it. It was just something I dealt with and learned how to forgive and learned how to move on. But I wanted to share enough of the obstacles that I've had to overcome in my life so that how I overcame them had any significance. And I've never appreciated it when people use art as propaganda to make themselves seem more perfect or more happy than they actually are. Life is full of beauty, and it's also full of pain for everybody. And if we're not talking about the pain, we're not learning new ways of handling it. And if you can't avoid pain in life, then what is resiliency? It's learning how to transmute pain so that your story can make you more exceptional instead of damaged.